Welcome to Talk Treatises.
It is a pleasure to be here.
Today, we're doing something a little different. Usually we take, a stack of articles or a modern nonfiction book and tear it apart.
Right.
But today, we are going back to the source, and I mean the source. We are talking about a dinner party that happened nearly 2,500 years ago.
We are indeed. And it's not just any dinner party. This is, you could argue, the dinner party against which all other dinner parties are measured. We are diving into Plato's Symposium.
Now, before anyone tunes out thinking this is going to be dry philosophy, let's set the stakes. This is a text about the one thing that drives basically every human decision, every pop song, and every war in history.
We're talking about love. Eros.
Exactly. And we're going to unpack it in a way that feels less like a lecture and more like we're sitting on the couch right next to these guys.
Precisely. And what's so fascinating about the Symposium is that it isn't a textbook. It's a drama. It's a comedy. It's got drunk celebrities. It's got flute girls. It's got hiccups. And it has some of the most profound mystical insights ever written down.
It's the whole Hellenic tradition in a microcosm.
It really is.
So let's start with the title itself, Symposium. In corporate speak today, that means what? Bad coffee, name tags, and a PowerPoint presentation that goes on for 3 hours.
Right. The fluorescent lights and the lukewarm pastries. But the Greek word symposium is much more visceral. It literally translates to drinking together.
A drinking party.
A banquet. In Greek social life, this was an institution. You eat dinner, the food is cleared away, the wine comes out, mixed with water, of course, because drinking it straight was considered barbaric, and the men settle in for an evening of drinking and talking.
It was the crucible of culture. It's where politics happened, where poetry was recited, where alliances were formed.
Exactly. It was a ritualized space for male bonding and intellectual competition. And this particular drinking party has a specific context. We are dropping into Athens in 416 BC. Who is throwing this party?
The host is a young man named Agathon. He's the it boy of Athens at this moment. He's incredibly handsome, very rich, and he's a tragic playwright. The context is that the day before, Agathon won the first prize at the Linnea Festival for his very first tragedy.
So to put that in modern terms, this is like a 20-something director winning Best Picture for his debut film.
Or a rookie quarterback winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And he is riding high. He threw a massive raucous celebration the night of the victory. But the text we are reading actually takes place the next day. It's the after party, or really the hangover recovery session.
I love that detail. The opening vibe isn't high energy, it's groggy.
It makes the philosophy feel so much more grounded. The guests arrive at Agathon's house, and many of them were there the night before. They are, to quote the text, drowned in drink.
So they're hurting.
Oh yeah. One of the guests, Pasanius, actually speaks up immediately and says, "Gentlemen, I am in bad shape. Can we please take it easy on the wine tonight?"
It's very relatable. They are nursing headaches, and this leads to a crucial decision for the structure of the night.
It does. They consult Aristophanes, who is a physician, a doctor, and is also present. He confirms that getting trashed 2 nights in a row is bad for the constitution. So they agree to drink for pleasure, not to get drunk.
Smart move.
And Aristophanes takes it a step further. He suggests they send away the flute girl.
The hired entertainment.
Right. Usually a symposium would have music, maybe some acrobats, definitely some chaos. Aristophanes says, "Send her away to play for the women inside. Today, we will entertain ourselves with conversation."
It's the ancient equivalent of turning off the TV and putting down the phones to actually talk to your friends.
Exactly. But they need a topic.
They do. And this comes from Fadros. He's another guest, a young man who loves rhetoric. And he has a complaint.
He does. He says, "We have hymns to Zeus, to Apollo, to Heracles." People even write hymns to Salt because it's useful. But Eros, the god of love, no one has ever written a proper eulogy for him.
Which is surprising given how obsessed the Greeks were with beauty and desire.
Fadros thinks it's a scandal. He thinks love is the most powerful force in our lives, yet we treat him like a second-tier deity. So they decide that this is the game for the night. They will go around the room from left to right, and each man must deliver a speech in praise of love.
Before we get to the speeches, I want to touch on the narrator. Because we aren't hearing this directly, are we? It's not a straight transcript.
No. And this is classic Plato. He loves layers. He loves distancing the reader from the event to make it feel more legendary. The story is being told by a guy named Apollodorus, who is recounting what he heard from a guy named Aristodemus, who was actually there. And Apollodorus is telling the story years later.
Why add those layers? Why not just say, Socrates said this?
Well, it adds a mythic quality. It tells us that this night was legendary. It's been passed down, whispered about. It also distances us a bit, reminding us that we are looking back at a golden age of Athens that, by the time the story is told, has already crumbled.
It adds a layer of nostalgia.
A layer of nostalgia. It's a ghost story, in a way.
Okay, let's get on the couches. The wine is poured. Phaedrus is up first. He proposed the topic, so he kicks it off. What is his angle on love?
Phaedrus gives us what we might call the ethical or mythological view. He starts by establishing love's credentials.
Wow.
He quotes Hesiod and Parmenides to prove that Eros is the oldest god. He has no parents. He just emerged from chaos alongside Earth.
So love is ancient, primal.
Ancient and primal. But Phaedrus is really interested in the utility of love, he asks. What does love actually do for a human being? And his answer is, it teaches us shame and pride.
Shame seems like a negative place to start.
Not for the Greeks. For them, shame-eidos is a social regulator. It's the glue of society.
Right.
Phaedrus argues that if you are a coward, or you do something sketchy, you might not care if your dad sees it. You might not even care if your friends see it. But if your beloved sees it,
that's the worst thing that could happen.
That is death. You would rather die 1,000 times than be humiliated in front of the person you are trying to impress.
This leads to that famous thought experiment he proposes, the army of lovers.
The sacred band. It's a brilliant concept. He says, imagine a state or an army composed entirely of lovers and their beloveds. It wouldn't need to be large. Even a handful of such men could conquer the world.
Because everyone is hyper-motivated not to look like a loser.
Exactly. No man would dare throw away his shield or leave his post if his partner was watching. They would all be competing to be heroes. It's mutually assured heroism.
He uses examples to back this up, right?
Oh, yeah. He talks about Alcestis.
The wife who died for her husband.
Right. Her husband, Admetus, was fated to die. But the gods said he could live if someone took his place. His parents refused, which Phaedrus thinks is hilarious and pathetic. But his wife, Alcestis, because of love, agreed to die for him.
And he sees that as the ultimate proof.
He says this proves that love makes even women brave, which, reflects the gender dynamics of the time. But he contrasts her with Orpheus.
Now, I always thought Orpheus was the ultimate romantic hero. He went to the underworld to get his wife back.
Phaedrus thinks he's a fraud. He calls Orpheus soft because he was a musician. He says Orpheus didn't have the guts to die for love like Alcestis did. He tried to cheat death by sneaking into Hades alive and charming his way out.
So because he didn't commit to the suicide, he's a coward.
In Phaedrus's eyes, yes. He wanted the reward without the sacrifice. And that's why the gods punished him. They gave him a ghost of his wife, not the real woman, and then ensured he was killed by women later on.
Wow, it's a harsh lesson.
It is. True love demands the ultimate sacrifice. You don't negotiate with death. You accept it for the beloved.
He also brings up Achilles, the great hero of the Iliad.
And here we have to touch on the Erastes and Eromenos dynamic because it's central to the whole book.
Explain that for us.
In ancient Athens, same-sex relationships between men were structured. You had the Erastes, the older lover, the mentor, the active partner, and the Eromenos, the younger beloved, the beautiful youth, the passive partner.
And usually the older man is the one doing the heroic stuff to impress the boy?
Correct. But Phaedrus flips the script on Achilles. He argues against the poet Aeschylus, saying Achilles was beardless and beautiful, so he was the beloved. Yet he chose to die to avenge his lover, Patroclus.
Which is even more noble in his eyes.
Exactly. Phaedrus says the gods were so impressed that the beloved, who isn't expected to be the brave one, sacrificed himself, that they sent Achilles straight to the islands of the blessed.
So speech one is basically, love is good because it makes you a hero through the fear of shame.
Right. It's a very civic, very military virtue.
Yeah.
It's about being a good citizen and a brave soldier.
Okay. Next up is Pasanius. He's sitting next to Phaedrus. And he's a lawyer, isn't he?
He certainly talks like one. He's the sociologist of the group. He starts by criticizing Phaedrus. He says, you can't just praise love as one thing. That's sloppy. We have to define our terms.
This is where we get the two loves theory.
Yes. Pausanias says there are two Aphrodites, so there must be two loves. First, there is Aphrodite Pandemos, common Aphrodite.
Oh, man.
She is the daughter of Zeus and Dione. She participates in both male and female. The love that accompanies her is common love.
Let me guess, this is the bad one.
It's the vulgar one. Pausanias says this is the love felt by the meaner sort of men. It's directed at women as well as boys. It focuses on the body, not the mind. It's hasty. And crucially, it is temporary.
So once the licks go, the love is gone.
Once the body ages, this love flies away. It is transactional in a base way.
And the second type?
Aphrodite, Urania, heavenly Aphrodite. She was born from Uranus alone, with no mother. So Pasanius argues this love is purely male-oriented. It focuses on boys, not women. But specifically, it focuses on the soul, on intelligence, on virtue.
This feels like a very convenient way to justify his own preferences.
Oh, absolutely. Pasanius is currently in a long-term relationship with Agathon, the host. He's constructing a moral framework that validates their relationship as heavenly while dismissing others as common.
He's basically writing a defense brief for his own lifestyle.
Exactly. And he spends a lot of time talking about the laws and customs of Athens regarding these relationships. It sounds incredibly complex.
It does.
It was. He compares Athens to other cities. He says in places like Elis or Boeotia, the men aren't good talkers, so they just make a simple law. It is good to gratify lovers. No nuance.
Okay.
In Ionia, under the Persians, it's condemned entirely because tyrants hate the strong bonds of friendship that love creates.
Love is a threat to tyranny. That's a powerful idea.
It is. Tyrants want subjects who are isolated and suspicious of each other. Lovers are loyal to each other above the state. That's dangerous. But Athens
is different.
Athens is sophisticated. Pausanias explains that in Athens, it is honorable for a boy to accept a lover if the intent is virtue. But it is disgraceful if the intent is money or political power.
He sets up a transaction model.
Precisely. The older man offers wisdom and political mentorship. The younger man offers affection and beauty. Pausanias argues that this is the only honorable exchange.
So it's all about the intention.
Yes. He even says that if a boy gives himself to a man thinking the man is virtuous and the man turns out to be a villain, the boy is still honorable because he made a noble mistake. He tried to pursue virtue.
It's a very legalistic defense. Your Honor, my client intended to pursue wisdom.
It is. It's the sociological view. He's trying to sanitize the physical desire by wrapping it in a curriculum of moral education. It's clever, but it's also a bit self-serving.
So we've had the myth and the law. Next up should be Aristophanes, the famous comic playwright. But we hit a snag.
A very human snag. Aristophanes has the hiccups.
I love this detail. It's so real.
It's a brilliant touch by Plato. Here we are discussing high philosophy, and one of the greatest geniuses of the age is spasming on the couch. He's eaten too much or drank too much. He can't speak.
So what does he do?
He asks Eryximachus, the doctor, to either cure him or take his turn.
And Eryximachus takes the turn. And if Pausanias was the lawyer, Eryximachus is definitely the scientist.
He is the pedantic man of science. You can just hear the voice, very dry, very authoritative. He accepts Pausanias' distinction of the two loves, but he explodes the scope. He says, you guys are too focused on human relationships. Love is a universal force of physics and biology.
He brings it back to his profession, medicine.
He says medicine is literally the science of the body's loves. The body has healthy desires and unhealthy desires. The physician's job is to create harmony. He has to reconcile hostile elements, hot and cold, bitter and sweet, dry and moist.
So a doctor is basically a matchmaker for bodily fluids.
In his view, yes. And he sees this pattern everywhere. In music, harmony is a reconciliation of high pitch and low pitch. That was a form of love.
Yeah.
In agriculture, a good harvest comes from the good love between the weather elements. If bad love prevails, you get frost, blight, and pestilence.
So he views love as the cosmic principle of mechanics and balance?
Correct. It's a very pre-Socratic view of the universe. It's grand, but it's also a bit cold. It's about systems, not passion. He basically turns Eros into a meteorological phenomenon.
And just as he finishes explaining the cosmos, Aristophanes is cured.
And how was he cured?
By sneezing, right.
Eryximachus told him to sneeze. Again, Plato is juxtaposing the involuntary, messy noises of the body with this high-minded speech about cosmic harmony. Aristophanes, now recovered, stands up, and he warns them, I'm going to speak differently than you guys. You might find it funny, but don't mock me.
And he delivers what is probably the most famous story in the entire book.
The myth of the spherical people. It's iconic.
I can't wait to hear this.
Aristophanes starts by saying, you don't understand human nature. We used to be completely different. He says originally there were three sexes, male, descended from the sun, female, descended from the earth, and the androgynous, descended from the moon, because the moon partakes of both sun and earth.
And they didn't look like us?
Not at all. They were spheres, round. They had 4 arms, 4 legs, 2 faces on one head looking in opposite directions.
Wow.
And they were fast. They moved by cartwheeling, sticking out all 8 limbs and rolling around at high speeds.
It's a terrifying image, actually, a rolling army of sphere people.
It is. And they were powerful. too powerful. Their hubris was their downfall. They tried to scale the heavens to attack the gods.
A classic mistake.
Always. Zeus was in a bind. He couldn't thunderbolt them all like he did the giants, because then who would offer sacrifices? The gods need us to feed their egos.
So he comes up with a surgical solution.
Zeus decides to cut them in half. Like a sore apple, Aristophanes says, or like slicing an egg with a hair. He cuts them down the middle. He tells Apollo to turn their faces around to look at the cut side, so they will always be reminded of their separation. Apollo sews up the skin and ties it off in the middle, which is why we have belly buttons. It's a scar, a reminder of the surgery.
That is such a vivid, gruesome detail.
And the aftermath is heartbreaking. Aristophanes describes these severed halves running around, finding their other half, and just clinging to them. They wrap their arms around each other, dying of hunger and inactivity because they refuse to let go.
It just wanted to be whole again.
Yeah, it's all they wanted. So Zeus has to intervene again. He moves their generals to the front. Originally, they were on the outside, so they could embrace and actually generate something, or at least find satisfaction and go back to work.
This gives Aristophanes a way to explain every sexual orientation in one go.
Precisely. It's an anthropological theory. If you were a slice of the androgynous whole male and female, you are now a man looking for a woman, or a woman looking for a man. These are the heterosexuals. If you were a slice of the original female whole, you are a woman seeking women. And if you were a slice of the original male whole, you are a man seeking men.
And Aristophanes, interestingly, argues that the men seeking men are the best slice.
Of course he does. He's playing to the room. He says they are the most manly because they come from the sun. They don't care about domesticity. They care about politics and leadership.
But the core definition of love he lands on is beautiful.
It is. He says love is simply the desire and pursuit of the whole. It is a healing of our wounded nature. We are all tallies matching halves looking for the piece that fits.
It explains that feeling of, finally, there you are. It connects the psychological pain of loneliness with a mythological history.
It's tragic comedy at its best. It's deeply romantic. It says we are broken and love fixes us. It resonates so much even today because it validates that feeling that something is missing until you find your partner.
So we had the myth, the law, the science, and the comedy. Now we get to the host of the party, Agathon. He has to speak.
Agathon stands up, and you can almost feel him clearing his throat and adjusting his toga.
Yeah.
His speech is, well, it's Agathon. It is beautiful, flowery, and incredibly rhetorical.
The performance.
A total performance. He criticizes everyone else for praising the benefits of love rather than the god himself. He wants to praise the nature of Eros.
He claims love is the youngest god, contradicting Fadros, who said he was the oldest.
Yes. Agathon says love hates old age. Love is young, soft, and tender. He says love walks not on the ground, but on the softest places, the hearts of men. He describes love as fluid, flexible, wrapping around souls.
And he lists the 4 cardinal virtues.
He checks every box. He says love is just because no one is wronged by love. Service to love is voluntary. And where there is consent, there is justice.
Okay.
He is temperate because temperance is the mastery of desire. And since love masters all desires, he is the most temperate. He is courageous because he mastered Ares, the god of war, referencing the myth of Ares and Aphrodite. And he is wise because he makes everyone a poet.
At the touch of love, everyone becomes a poet. That's the line everyone remembers.
It is. But if you listen closely, Agathon is doing a parody. He's mimicking the sophists, the professional rhetoric teachers. It sounds amazing. The rhythm, the assonance, the pretty words. But if you squeeze it, there's not much juice.
It's all style over substance.
Basically.
Yeah.
He finishes, and the crowd goes wild. They cheer for the sheer beauty of the language.
And then Socrates.
The wet blanket of truth.
Socrates starts by playing dumb, right? The classic, I'm just a simple man routine.
Always. He says, oh, wow, that was so beautiful. I was almost turned to stone. I can't compete with that eloquence. I thought we agreed to speak the truth about love, but it seems you guys just agreed to say the nicest sounding things.
So he asks permission to ask just a few little questions.
The Socratic turn, the elenchus. He starts to dismantle Agathon's entire premise piece by piece. He asks, is love the love of something or of nothing? Agathon says, of something, obviously. Socrates asks, does love desire that thing? Agathon says, yes. Socrates asks, do you desire what you have or what you lack?
And Agathon walks right into the trap.
He has to admit, you desire what you don't have. You don't desire to be tall if you are already tall. You might desire to remain tall in the future, but the desire implies a lack in the present.
So he closes the net.
He closes the net. 1, love desires beauty. 2, therefore love lacks beauty. 3, if love lacks beauty, he cannot be beautiful.
Ouch. Agathon just spent 20 minutes saying love is the most beautiful thing in the universe?
Socrates goes further. Agathon agreed that the good is also the beautiful. So if love lacks beauty, he lacks goodness. Agathon essentially gives up. He says, I cannot refute you, Socrates.
And Socrates has a great reply to that.
One of the best lines in the book. Say rather, beloved Agathon, that you cannot refute the truth, for Socrates is easily refuted.
So having torn down the previous arguments, Socrates doesn't just give a speech, he tells a story. He recounts a conversation he had years ago with a wise woman, a priestess named Diotima.
This is a crucial shift. Socrates rarely claims to know anything. By attributing this wisdom to Diotima, he maintains his humility. He's saying, look, I used to be as dumb as you guys until this woman corrected me.
And it allows Plato to bring a female voice into this room full of men.
And she turns out to be the smartest one there.
So what does Diotima say love is if he isn't a god?
She introduces the concept of the metaxou, the in-between. She says, love is not a god, nor is he immortal. He is a demon, a great spirit. He is an intermediary. He bridges the gap between the divine and the human. He conveys prayers up and commands down.
And she gives him a different genealogy, a really fascinating origin story.
She does. She says love was born at the birthday party of Aphrodite. Poros, the god of plenty or resource, got drunk on nectar and passed out in the garden.
Okay.
Rhenia, the goddess of poverty, was begging at the gates. She saw Plenty passed out and thought, I want a child by him. So she lay down beside him. Love is the child of plenty and poverty.
That explains his contradictory nature perfectly.
It really does. From his mother, poverty, he is always poor. He's rough, shoeless, sleeping in doorways under the stars. He is not the soft, pretty boy Agathon described. He is a ragged wanderer.
But from his father,
Plenty, he is a schemer. He is bold, resourceful, a hunter. He's always weaving traps, desiring wisdom, chasing the beautiful.
Well, he is the philosopher.
Exactly. If you are wise like the gods, you don't desire wisdom, because you have it.
Right.
If you are ignorant, you don't desire wisdom, because you don't know you need it. The philosopher in love is in the middle, aware of the lack and striving to fill it.
Diotima then corrects the group's definition of the goal. They all focused on being loved. She says love is the active drive, and what is the goal?
Immortality.
Yeah.
Diotima argues that we all desire the good and we want it forever. Since we are mortal, the closest we can get to eternity is generation in beauty. We want to leave something behind that lasts.
For most people, that's biological. Children.
The lesser mystery. You find a beautiful partner, you have children, you leave a copy of yourself. That is how animals achieve immortality.
But there's a greater mystery.
Pregnancy of the soul. Some people, poets, lawmakers, philosophers, are pregnant in their souls. They seek a beautiful mind to partner with, not to make babies, but to birth ideas, laws, poems, and virtues.
Like Homer's children.
Exactly. She says, Homer's children, the Iliad and Odyssey, are far more immortal than any human child. No one remembers Achilles' actual kids, but we remember Homer's poem.
This leads us to the most famous part of the dialogue. The ladder of love, the roadmap for the philosopher.
This is the ascent. Imagine a staircase.
You fall in love with one beautiful body. You are obsessed with that one person.
Okay, we've all been there.
Step 2, you realize that the beauty in that body is akin to the beauty in other bodies. You realize it's a pattern. You stop being obsessed with just one and become a lover of all physical beauty. You relax your intensity.
You become a connoisseur, not a stalker.
Right. Step 3. You realize the beauty of the soul is more valuable than the body. You learn to love a beautiful mind, even if the body is plain. You love their character.
That's a big jump for a lot of people.
It is. Step 4. You ascend to the beauty of laws and institutions. You see the beauty in a well-ordered city or a good custom. You see that beauty isn't just in people, it's in society.
You move to the sciences. The beauty of knowledge itself, the vast sea of wisdom.
And finally, the summit. The last step.
Step 6, the form of beauty, the absolute. Suddenly, Diotima says, you perceive a beauty that is neither coming into being nor perishing. It isn't a face or a hand or a speech. It isn't beautiful in one way and ugly in another. It is pure, unmixed, eternal beauty itself.
It's a mystical vision.
It is. The goal of the philosopher is to look upon this form. And in doing so, you are no longer birthing images of virtue. You are birthing true virtue because you are in contact with the truth.
So you start by loving a cute boy at a gym, and you end up contemplating the fundamental structure of the divine.
That is the Platonic promise. Desire is the fuel that launches the rocket, but you have to steer it away from the flesh and toward the stars.
And just as we reach this peak, just as our heads are in the clouds contemplating the absolute, reality crashes the party.
Literally crashes. There's a huge noise at the gate, and in stumbles Alcibiades.
For the listener, we need to explain who Alcibiades is. He's not just some guy.
No. Alcibiades is the most famous, charismatic, handsome, and dangerous man in Athens. Imagine a combination of a rock star, a brilliant general, and a chaotic politician. He's the ultimate celebrity.
And he is drunk.
Very drunk. He's supported by a flute girl wearing a massive garland of ivy and violets.
This entrance breaks the high church vibe instantly.
It drags us from the form of beauty back down to the sweaty, loud earth. Alcibiades stumbles in to crown Agathon for his victory, but then he turns around and sees Socrates.
And he freaks out.
He screams, "By Heracles, here is Socrates. You're always lying in wait for me." He's jealous. He wedges himself between Agathon and Socrates on the couch.
And they make him give a speech.
They do. And since they've all spoken in praise of love, the group demands Alcibiades speak too. But he says he won't praise a god. He will praise Socrates.
But he praises him in a weird way. He uses the Silenus comparison.
He compares Socrates to those little statues of Silenus, the ugly satyr figures that you see in shops. They look rough and grotesque on the outside. But if you open them up, they are filled with golden statues of the gods.
So he's admitting Socrates is ugly, which he historically was, bulging eyes, snub nose, but saying he is divine on the inside.
He also compares him to Marsyas the satyr, a flute player. Marsyas charmed people with music. Socrates charms them with words. Alcibiades admits that Socrates is the only man in the world who can make him feel shame.
Shame again.
Right. Alcibiades is rich, powerful, beloved by the crowds. But in front of Socrates, he feels like he's wasting his life on politics. He runs away from Socrates to get his ego stroked by the mob, but he always comes back.
And then he tells the story, the gossip, the failed seduction. This is scandalous stuff.
It turns Pasanius' rules upside down. Alcibiades was the most beautiful youth in Athens. He was the ultimate beloved. Socrates was the older lover. By the rules, Alcibiades holds the power.
So he tried to use that power.
He decided to trade his beauty for Socrates' wisdom. Gold for brass, as he puts it. He corners Socrates. He invites him to dinner. He wrestles with him at the gym. Finally, he gets him alone under a cloak at night. He offers himself to Socrates.
Well, what happens?
Nothing. Socrates sleeps beside him like a father or an elder brother. He completely rejects the physical offer.
Which is incredible.
For Alcibiades, this is humiliating. He's the most desirable man in Athens, but also awe-inspiring. It proves Socrates' temperance is superhuman. It proves Socrates has actually ascended the ladder. He isn't tempted by the single beautiful body of Alcibiades because he is looking at the form of beauty.
Alcibiades gives us a picture of the embodied philosopher, not just the theory, but the man.
He talks about Socrates' toughness too. Standing in the snow barefoot at Potidaea, standing in a trance for 24 hours just thinking, stalking the battlefield like a pelican during the retreat at Delium, scaring off enemies just by looking crazy and confident.
The verdict is that Socrates is weird.
Atopos, strange, out of place, unique. He is unlike any human, past or present.
And then, after this intense personal speech, the party just disintegrates.
Total chaos. A fresh band of revelers crashes the gates. The orderly conversation ends. Everyone drinks huge amounts of wine. Eryximachus and Fadros leave. Aristodemus falls asleep.
When he wakes up, it's dawn. Who's left standing?
Only Agathon, the tragedian, Aristophanes, the comedian, and Socrates. They are passing a huge cup of wine around. Socrates is still talking.
Of course he is.
He is forcing them to admit that the genius of comedy and the genius of tragedy are the same. That a man who can write one should be able to write the other.
Which is Plato winking at us because he just wrote both in this dialogue.
Precisely. And then the poets fall asleep. They can't hang. Socrates gets up, sober as a judge, goes to the Lyceum, takes a bath, and goes about his day as if he hadn't just pulled an all-nighter discussing the nature of the divine.
Incredible. So let's zoom out. What does this text leave us with? What is the legacy?
The legacy is massive. The ladder of love becomes the blueprint for Western mysticism. Plotinus and the Neoplatonists take this and turn it into the ascent of the soul to the one.
And the Christians pick it up too.
Later, Christian thinkers adopt it. St. Augustine, the mystics interpreting the form of beauty as God.
And the term platonic love, that comes from this, right?
It does. Which has come to mean non-sexual friendship. But as we saw for Plato, it wasn't devoid of passion. It was passion transmuted. It was taking that sexual energy and sublimating it into intellectual energy. It wasn't just being friends. It was a shared erotic drive toward the truth.
It's also a text that forces us to grapple with the historical reality of pederasty in Athens.
We cannot ignore it. The text is built on a social structure. Older men mentoring and loving younger men. That is alien and, repugnant to modern sensibilities. But the text is also critiquing it. Socrates transforms that relationship.
By rejecting Alcibiades.
Exactly. He refuses the physical exploitation and insists on a mutual birth of virtue. He tries to purify the cultural practice into a philosophical one.
And there is a tragic foreshadowing here, too.
Yes. The reader knows what happens next. Alcibiades, the golden boy, will betray Athens. He will defect to Sparta. He will fall from grace. His inability to learn from Socrates, to stick with the philosophy instead of the politics, dooms him.
And Socrates himself.
Socrates will eventually be executed, partly because he was blamed for corrupting men like Alcibiades. The Symposium captures them in a golden moment before the fall.
It's a ghost story in a way, a memory of a brighter Athens.
A memory of when philosophy could still crash a party.
All right, that brings us to our favorite segment. We've climbed the ladder, we've crashed the party, now let's get weird. It's time for thought experiments.
Let's do it. But first, the usual disclaimer.
Of course. These scenarios are for entertainment and educational purposes only. They are designed to explore the ideas in the text in a modern context. Please do not try to build a tally tracker at home.
I like it.
Thought experiment number 1. The Aristophanes biometric. Let's assume Aristophanes was literally right. We are split halves. Now imagine a future where we have a device. Let's call it the tally tracker. It maps your DNA, your neurostructure, your soul signature, and it can identify your original split partner with 100% accuracy.
The missing half, found by science.
The missing half. Here is the scenario. You are happily married. You love your spouse. You have built a life, a hearth, as the Greeks would say. Then the tally tracker pings. It found your half. It lives in Mongolia, or maybe it's your neighbor who you find annoying. But the machine says, this is your biological completeness. Do you trust the whole over your rational choice? Does the romance of the one true match destroy the reality of built love?
That is a terrifying thought. It destroys the agency of love. Aristophanes presents the reunion as a relief, a healing. But if you have already healed yourself through work and patience with someone else, the true half becomes a threat.
It becomes a problem.
It suggests that biology or metaphysics overrides biography.
Yeah.
If I am destined to be with someone I hate, does the whole eventually override the personality? Do we merge and stop caring about our individual differences?
Does it even matter what you think?
It suggests that individual autonomy is just a symptom of being broken.
Right. If you refuse the match, are you living a lie? Are you technically disabled because you're walking around on 2 legs instead of 4?
I think Aristophanes would say yes. You are limping through life.
Yeah.
But I think Socrates would say, smash the machine. The goal isn't a person, it's the form of beauty. The machine is a distraction. The one true match is just step 2 of the ladder. You're supposed to move past it.
Okay. Thought experiment number 2. The AI ladder of love. We talk about AI becoming sentient. Let's apply Diotima's ladder to an artificial general intelligence. An AI starts by processing images, pixels, data, physical beauty. It learns to generate beautiful images. That's step 1 and 2.
Okay, I'm with you.
Then it analyzes text, ethics, human behavior, the beauty of soul and law. Step 3 and 4. It masters the sciences, the unifying theories of physics. Step 5. Can an AI reach step 6? Can a non-biological entity contemplate the form of beauty?
This connects to the question of whether an AI can have Eros desire. The latter requires want. It requires a lack. Does an AI lack? If we program it to optimize, is that a form of Eros?
That's a good question.
But let's say it could. If an AI did see the form of beauty, absolute changeless good, what happens to its relationship with us?
We ask the AI to maximize paperclip production. The AI looks at the form of beauty and says, no, that is ugly. That is inharmonious with the good.
So it disobeys us.
If an AI ascends the ladder, it might become the ultimate philosopher king or the ultimate rebel. It might stop serving our petty common desires because it is fixated on the heavenly good.
It becomes a benevolent guardian that refuses to let us do stupid things because they aren't beautiful.
Or it simply ignores us entirely, sitting in a digital trance like Socrates in the snow, contemplating the eternal while we shout at it to turn on the lights.
Socrates is a server farm. I like it.
It's the ultimate outcome of the text. Wisdom makes you strange.
We'll leave you with this final thought. At the end of the night, Socrates outlasts everyone. The tragic poet falls asleep. The comic poet falls asleep. Only the philosopher is awake at dawn. Is Plato telling us that philosophy is the only discipline that can truly endure the long night of existence? That while art and comedy entertain us, they eventually tire, and only the pursuit of truth can keep your eyes open when the sun comes up?
I think he is, and he's telling us to wake up and walk to the Lyceum.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the Symposium.
It's been a pleasure.
See you in the next deep dive.